Although not the climax of Season 3 of Invincible, it cannot be denied that to many, Episode 7 of Invincible Season 3, The Invincible War, was the highlight. And although there is an inherent cool factor to 18 evil variants of our protagonist coming to Earth and causing abject chaos, what I think makes this event so amazing is the way it explores what makes our Mark, Mark, and the way it contextualises the season's previous conflict between Mark and Cecil. Now, one thing that is ever present in the series is Mark's ever-changing perception of his role in the world. His choice to become a hero, although inspired by his father, is also something Mark does because of his genuine desire to help others, due to the ideals of justice he has formed in his heart. Mark cares for others and doesn't want people to suffer. He is against killing because he holds life as precious. That is the core of what drives him to be invincible. Not due to the praise or the money, not even to live up to his father. He does it because he has the power to do so, because to sit back and not help does not sit right with him. It's not that he wants to do the right thing, it's that he wants to do what he believes is the right thing. The contradictions we see in his morality come from his desire for him to better understand himself. He doesn't want people to die, but at the same time he thinks those who harm others should not be allowed a second chance. Sure, to us, an outside party, we can see the plain stupidity in these beliefs. To be against killing but also against reform is a strange stance to take. However, that is because we are just that, an outside party. We haven't had the power to save the world or destroy it thrown into our laps. We haven't had to grapple with our feelings for a mass murdering father. We want to forgive, but struggle to justify how forgiveness could ever be on the table. Mark struggles, he struggles a lot, he makes mistakes and does the best he realistically can. He is relatable to so many people, not because he is a paragon of justice, but because he is one trying to become said paragon, in the most human ways one can. The reason he gets back up every time he's knocked down is because he knows if he sits back, people will die. Lives he sees as precious, lives he could have saved. He does all he can in the name of his ever-changing perception of justice. One that starts as a no kill no reform rule, but ever evolves as he matures and understands both himself and the world. This is what sets our Mark apart from all these others. At their core, all these variants are the same person, all Mark Grayson. Their nature is identical. But unlike our Mark, these ones don't see life as precious, don't equate their value as a person with how well they can use their powers to save others. Meaning what sets our Mark apart is not due to his nature, no, it is down to his choices. As we learn in most universes, Mark got his powers earlier than our Mark. As such, the influence of his father became much greater. He would have been taught to use his powers far sooner, spent more time with his father, and as a result, the reveal of his true purpose as an agent of Viltrum would be revealed far sooner. Unlike in our universe where Mark already had bonds with so many Earthlings, in these universes, he'd be told of his destiny by the man he looks up to and trusts most before he can make these strong bonds. What I'm saying is that it's not that Mark is inherently evil and that ours is an anomaly, no, it's that a lot of it comes down to nurture. Because in our universe, the one Mark is closest to is Debbie. I may make a whole video on Debbie in the future, as she is, in my opinion, the best character in the entire series. But to be concise, Debbie is the one who instilled in Mark the true values of heroism. Sure, he looked up to his father as the great Omni-Man, but was it he who taught him life is precious? I doubt it. I mean, that would only, in the long run, make it harder for Nolan to recruit Mark. Nolan taught him how to do the job, how to use his powers, how to save people. But he didn't instill in Mark the reason as to why. In Nolan's words, it's about responsibility and duty, not just as a hero, but as a Viltrumite. You save people because that's your mission, not because it's the right thing to do. Without this compassion, this love for others, it's not hard to see how Mark could easily change his mission parameters, let's say, and go from using these powers to save others, to using them to oppress them. Nolan may have given Mark the abilities and the tools for the job, but he wasn't the one to make Mark a hero. No, instead it was Debbie. I mean, we see this clear as day with how she raises Oliver. The one to instill the values of love and bonds into Mark was his mother. Not surprising when she also was the one who made ultra-loyalist Viltrumite Nolan betray the Empire, again due to the love and bonds she taught him. These other Marks didn't learn these lessons and were not instilled with these virtues. They were raised as Viltrumites. No, they were raised with the morals the Viltrumite Empire says is correct. Much like how Mark isn't inherently evil, neither are Viltrumites, but that is what the Empire teaches, and so that is what they become. Because the core idea of the series is what makes us who we are is our choices. In the end, Mark being just one good variant out of hundreds of evil ones does not diminish his character. I'd argue it does the opposite. It shows why the protagonist we follow became the way he is today. It shows how strong and virtuous he is to have ended up this way when so many other variants did not. How he made the right choices. We can value his journey even more knowing there was a real possibility he could have snapped and become evil at any point. It only adds to his integrity that despite everything he goes through, he still holds his head up and does the right thing. He isn't like these other Marks, he chooses to be better than them. And this might be why he is stronger than them. As Donald says, these Invincibles aren't as strong as theirs, because unlike these evil variants who just mindlessly destroy, our Mark needs the power to defend what he loves. He is stronger than them both as a person and in raw strength. Because thematically, true power comes from love. It was Eve's death that pushed Mark even further, allowing him to defeat Conquest. That was a rage born out of his genuine love for another, something those evil variants would never be able to understand. However, at the same time, although this war shows why our Invincible is a hero, why the choices he made up until this point have shaped him into realistically the best person he could have become, it also shows to Mark the worst of what he could become. I think a big reason why Mark sat in that hospital room as the whole world burned was because he realised just how much power he truly holds. What with these powers he could really do. Something made quite literal by the fact that Eve is lying in this hospital bed due to the actions of an evil variant of himself. Obviously this will be explored later in the series with the help of a certain red dinosaur, but I will keep the scope of this video set on what is currently animated. The point is Mark saw the slippery slope he was teetering on the edge of. He could have ended up like these variants, he still could. Maturing is understanding what you did wrong and setting out to next time do things differently. A large core of Season 3 was the conflict between Mark and Cecil. Cecil believed the world needed countermeasures against Invincible. After what happened with Omni-Man and the realization of how powerless the world was in the face of such an enemy, you can't blame Cecil for reaching this conclusion. However, Mark doesn't see it this way. He isn't his father, he wouldn't turn evil. There's no need for defences for the world against him, because he is the world's defence. Both sides have their points. Cecil can't risk the small chance Mark goes evil, and Mark feels betrayed that he is being treated like his father by Cecil, probably the closest other person he has to a father figure. For Cecil it's business, for Mark it was personal. The Invincible War proved Cecil correct. If all the other Cecils of those 18 other worlds had put weapons in their Invincibles' heads, maybe those Earths wouldn't have fallen. If Mark hadn't killed all those Reanimen, they may have been able to save more lives and kill more variants in the Invincible War. It's kind of narrative genius. By having Mark variants invade and enact Cecil's worst case scenario, we are able to see the logical extreme of their argument, while also allowing our Mark to remain innocent of this worst case scenario. Mark gets to see firsthand with his own eyes why Cecil was right. Mark always held strong he would never turn, never become like his father, but now here are 18 hymns destroying everything he swore to protect. It makes him question if he even understands who he is, to think one small change in the past could lead him to become a monster. But Invincible of course does not leave this argument so one-sided, because that's when Conquest appears and Mark fights him to defend the world. Mark becomes the singular shield for humanity. Without him, Conquest would have enslaved the Earth with ease. In the Invincible War we see the worst of what Invincible can be, but in the following episode we see the best of what he can be. And as such both us the viewers and Cecil in story reach the same conclusion. Thank God the Mark we have is the best he can be. Cecil was right that Mark could have gone evil, but what Mark was right about is that he won't go evil. So much of the story hinges on Mark and what he thinks a hero should be, how he thinks a hero should act, what is the right thing for his power to be used for. And although we are a long way off from reaching the conclusion of this narrative thread, what can be said for sure is that what makes our Mark special is that he values others and so uses his powers not for himself but for others. Even if it takes him some time to get back on his feet, he always will and will always do what he thinks is right. And that's why he is.
And if you want to support this channel even further, then perhaps pledge to my Patreon, or consider becoming a channel member so you can get your name at the end of the video like
Rinjack9696, Mr. Sputum, Marimo, Jack Hammer, Zolby and Eric Hinton.